Wondering how to convert your number of leads at a higher level? I got the best in the business with me today. Tom Tools out of Philadelphia, greater Philadelphia area. He's going to share with you exactly what you can do to see higher conversion rates. You know, Tom, one of the things that I love and I've heard you say before is don't just collect leads. Make sure that you're not neglecting those leads, because what can happen is we get such in the business of I just need more leads. But in reality, the neglect of those previous leads, some of those things we're seeing on conversion rates are even higher for the longer leads. You want to speak to that a little bit to begin with?
Everyone forgets about the nurture process. Agents want to pick up the phone, have one call, and not all agents, but agents that maybe don't make it or have trouble converting, they think it's going to happen on the first or second call. Mm-hmm. All the conversion is 6+ attempts. All the data is 6+ attempts get you more conversion, because we are in a lead conversion business, and the average realtor only follows up 2.7 times. Yeah. So a lot of people, and you talk about collecting leads, you see folks, they grab all the leads. And we see this on our team, we always look at the data. Having the most leads doesn't mean you're going to have the most sales. It's the most conversations and the most appointments, which is all about conversion. Yeah. So it's those activities that get you in front of the client.
Yeah, you got some of the best systems in the business. Let's talk about that. What does that look like for you? How does that follow-up look? Maybe it's a mix of text, phone call. Let's talk about that. How does that look on the really applicable on what you do?
You got to get into digital rapport with your clients, meaning some people, they're not going to call you. They're not going to email you. Email, I'm not a big fan of personally, because usually people want my money or my time when they email me, but text works really well. If you're at a 4-to-1 ratio of text to calls, that converts a lot better now. We've seen that because it's more conversational. People are busy, right? Like I don't think I talked to you on the phone maybe once or twice during the year, but we text a lot. That's just how it works. So you've got to see how your clients want to talk to you. Now, some people, they're going to be phone call people, and that's cool too. The point is, you've got to understand what they want, and then just look at the outreach attempts. It's how many times are you texting them? How many times are you calling them? And when you get to that north of 6 attempts or 10 calls, 6 texts in the first 14 days, that's where the conversion happens.
That's right. So this is the question I always get. I'd love to get your insight on this. How often and how frequent? You know what I mean? I don't want to overwhelm them. I'll get that from agents sometimes, which is ironic. But talk to me about exactly what does that time frame look between where you have reached out and then you reach out again.
So one of the smartest things I think people do is you call someone, you leave a voicemail, send them a text message and say, hey, just try calling. Is there a good time to connect? Schedule phone calls with people, because it's hard getting people on the phone now. Think about how the workforce has changed over the past 24 months. People are at home. They're on Zoom calls. Actually, people are busier working from home in a lot of cases than working in the office. So get in their calendar, schedule a call. Then you can go through the pre-qualifying questions, ask all the right stuff, but schedule the call with a text. That works really well. I want their business. I'm reaching out to them. Nobody wants an aggressive agent until they have one, and you've got to tell people that. And if you're okay with it and you embrace it, people are going to respect that, especially the ones that are motivated to transact.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents that are listening to this, they hear us talk about now you can get them into the qualifying phase. But some of them don't know what that is. Let's talk about how you teach your agents and anybody you talk to about what are those first questions, should they be, and how do you follow up with those questions?
So for a seller, where are you planning on moving to next? Number one question, because if they don't know where they're going, inventory's a challenge right now. We've talked about this all the time. It's all over the news. You've got to figure out where they're going. That's the number one question. If they don't know where they're going, then they might not be that motivated. For a buyer, you got to get into like the LP Mama questions, like where do you want to move to? What's the price point? So location, price. Are they approved or are they paying cash, right? I mean, there's a whole acronym here. I'm not going to go through all of it. And you've got to find out what their plan is financially for themselves, where they want to go for their household, and what they're looking for, so you can bring the right opportunities to them, because the market, it moves fast, and there's more homes that sold in 2021 than 2020, so there's a lot of opportunities out there. It just happens really quick, so you've got to get dialed in on what they want.
And I think a lot of people lose sight of this. A lot of newer agents, or maybe agents that are struggling a little bit, there should be an absolute goal when they're getting on these phone calls. You want to talk to that a little bit?
The goal is one thing. Get an appointment.
That's right.
Don't try to get the business. You're not going to win that over the phone. It's getting a time to meet with them face to face, belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, because whoever goes on the most appointments, they sell the most houses. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. So then let's talk about this. Now let's get us to the appointment. What are your goals in the appointment portion? Once you've made the appointment, you're meeting with them for the first time, what's your goal?
So for a seller, the goal is one thing. Get the listing contract signed at the appointment. Don't send it to them later. Don't say, okay, once you're out of that house, you don't know what's going to happen. That is something you can't control. My goal for a listing appointment when I was in production was get it signed.
That's right.
And for the buyer side, I think it's more about getting a commitment from the buyer, because you start throwing contracts in front of buyers right away, that to me is a red flag. It's a little bit of a different process.
Right.
I know what the laws say. You give them a consumer notice in Pennsylvania, say, hey, you know what, Jimmy? I'm going to show you homes. I'm going to spend time with you. I need one thing in return. I need your loyalty to be the guy you're going to contact when something comes up. If I can get a commitment from a buyer or a commitment from a seller, the seller commitment's a listing contract. That's what you're looking for.
Right. You know, I think sometimes people, once you get the conversion, also that's when the real opportunity to build that rapport also through the process of that after the conversions happen. What kind of follow-up do you have after the contract, after the listing agreement, some of those things?
So that's where you got to systemize this stuff. So if you can't get the contract signed, you can't get the commitment, send them a video and tell them how much you want your business, literally right afterwards. And I would send it in a text, because that's conversational. It's not going to be like an email. It's going to pop up on their phone in their hand. If you get the appointment signed, then I think it's really important to either you or your staff or your assistant or whoever, because there's a lot of people watching, let them know what the follow-up steps are going to be. Send them a memo, right? An email. Like, hey, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's next. Here's a copy of the documents. You've got to let them know what's happening next, because trust gets broken when people don't know when they're going to hear from you.
That's good.
Chris Voss said this, the FBI negotiator, right? Certainty is delivered by knowing when they're going to hear from you. So if I'm in a meeting with you and you say, great, congrats, looking forward to working with you, you'll hear from me by Monday at the latest. Okay, now I'm not freaking out when you're going to call me. And that's what people are worried about, because the number one complaint about real estate agents is their clients don't hear from them.
Exactly right. Yeah. And what I've always said is if you can reverse that, and that can become your kind of almost your signature of that, I'm going to over communicate to you. You're going to hear from me each Friday about what's going on with
Set
your
the
listing.
expectation.
That's exactly right. Set that expectation and follow through on it and execute on that. Because once you do that, that consistency begins to build that trust. So this is so now we've got the contract, we've got this. Let's talk about post, because this is something I think sometimes what we're talking about when we're talking about collecting and then neglecting. After the sale, the statistics from NAR tell us, what is it, 34% or something?
34% of all business last year came from a past client or a referral, right? So, and that's actually should be much higher for your business.
Yeah,
that's a low number because it's a national number. So you've got to have the planned outreach attempts there, because your database is under attack right now. The portals are coming after you. They want a piece of the commission. So I'd be looking at calling them maybe a week after the closing. Hey, how you getting settled in, Jimmy?
Yeah.
How's everything going? Or, hey, did everything go okay with the sale of your home? I know it's a hectic day. I just wanted to follow up, make sure you didn't miss anything or didn't have any questions. Call them in 30 days. Call them on their birthday. Call them on the day they closed on their house, and call them around the holidays. Get them on direct mail. Send them a video once a week via email. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do.
Right.
You've got to have the system.
Yeah. The conversion really comes down to that consistency. Having a plan of action. I mean, walking in and practicing with those folks is crazy. I know that y'all do a lot of role playing. Talk to me about the value of role playing for all of these phases.
The goal of role play is to talk to less people and set more appointments. A lot of folks they don't role play hard enough, right? Like you ever have, like you played sports when you were a kid, like the coach that coached you hard, that's the best coach, right? You've got to be aggressive in these things. You got to think of the craziest objection you weren't able to handle yourself and give that to your role play partner, and then have them throw it back at you and practice these things, because if you don't practice, then you're practicing on paychecks, and that gets a little risky.
Absolutely. Listen, if you guys are not following Tom on all of his social media, everything you're doing with Agent Hacks, tell me.
So we got a weekly radio show, Tool Time Radio, number one radio show in Philadelphia. Not
there
really, but we're on. But it's Tool Time Radio. We stream on YouTube. We've got Agent Hacks, which is our weekly show about ways to convert in your business, and we've got our consumer-facing show, Tom's Take, about what's going on in the market. I think that covers it, Nick. I don't think we have anything, but we have 3 shows a week that come out, and really it's about what's going on in the news, how can consumers benefit from real estate knowledge, and how can agents, because those are the people that are out there.
Yeah, very few people add as much value to the industry as Tom does. I appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate
You're very
your friendship.
kind.
Appreciate everything that you do for the industry as a whole and all you've done for me. So I know you guys got something out of this. Make sure you go and you follow Tom, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.